Here we go again.
All right, we are on the air. I want to welcome everybody into the Fifth Dimension podcast. And on the show today, I got the one and only Dr. Tommy John. Tommy, thanks so much for coming on the show, man.
Of course, man. It's absolutely my honor.
Yeah, such a pleasure to have you here. And, we were talking a little bit before the show, and I know this is going to be a fantastic conversation because we're coming from, we're seeing the same things here. And, you have 20 years of experience in like performance and healing and wellness. And so I would just love to start, like, what is your take? What are you seeing go on at the collective level, whether it be energetically, whether it be health wise, the narrative being spewed? What are you seeing going on right now?
So here's what's interesting. I'm over the course of my evolution of 20 years of experiencing this. And I was a professional athlete at some point where I knew my body. I at least knew the conversation that I had with my body, and the relationship I had with all systems of my body. And I went down that road of pulling apart clinically, personally, and then educated research. So for 20 years, I'm still learning. I learned something yesterday from a new patient. It humbles me so much because I'm like, holy shit, like I really don't know anything. I really don't know anything. And the patients, I follow them, they teach me. So one thing I've known is I've done a lot of things to continually adapt, evolve, and level up. And ever since moving out to California 5 years ago, it's the highest vibration I think I personally have ever felt. I have less now. I own less now, and I'm experiencing more now than ever. I'm more content than I've ever been. And people are literally commenting, clients are like, I don't think I've ever seen somebody so in love with their life as much as you. And I thought that was the greatest compliment I could ever have received, right? I'm like, okay, that's great, because it also means it's not selfish, right? Like I love it so much so that I can then share it, because I really think it's amazing, So I have a good buddy, his name's Vladimir Chirguz, lives in Illinois, and we worked together side by side in this one facility, and we pulled apart some of the old dogma that you were fed about, health and rehab and healing and a bunch of stuff. And we just really asked a lot of questions to each other, to clients, and he's a good big reader, I'm a big experiencer, and connected together, we would have these discussions. Yeah. Over the last 2 years prior to this, we kept saying intuitively what he was noticing in his practice, what I'm noticing in mine, and what I'm noticing just in the public. I'm like, we are so disconnected. It wasn't complaints. It was just these observations of, my God, we've devolved so much over our experience. And he's more experienced than me. He's got like 30 years experience. And I'm like, we're hitting a point where something's going to happen. And we were joking, saying it was going to be aliens, or it was going to be a natural disaster. There was going to be a reset of some kind. We literally were theorizing in these conversations because society, culture was so gone from reality. Their value systems were all warped, their belief systems, their materialistic ideation was the disrespect for the female in society. It was just the way kids were being raised, how kids were coming. I mean, it was just like, we are not doing well. Holy shit. I did not know it was going to be in the form of this, as far as maybe if this is it, if this is what I'm talking about. So I knew something was up a long time ago. Like I knew there was going to be a crux. There was going to be a saturation point. I didn't know we were like a ripe for the picking type of a thing. You know what I mean? Like we were hitting rock bottom so that somebody could create something, if that's what you believe. That's kind of what I believe, right? So that's where, as a whole, we were at low vibrational level. I mean, on all aspects, physically, mentally, intellectually, emotionally, developmentally, spiritually, like rock bottom. And then all this stuff started to come out because I wasn't at rock bottom, and I was doing extra work to make sure that I was trying to help people come up. You know what I mean? I was trying to like pull them up, kind of a thing. So when this happened, March 13th even, the ones that were doing the work for 20 years, 30 years, 15 or 10, we stopped, assessed, took in information calmly, looked around, made observation, talked to people, talked to each other. Hey, what do you think about what's going on? Had these nice, calm discussions, came to certain conclusions, but not really conclusions, just more information, just sharing things and wow, okay. But we didn't freak out. And then all of a sudden, as it started to kind of evolve, we were like, wait a second. I mean, really early in March, something's not right. This doesn't make any sense. And that's something I always try to promote in my practice. Does it make sense? And is it working? Those are two questions you can always ask yourself to anything. Does it make sense to you? Because your intuition is kind of the key. I try to get people to really intuitively connect to something. Does that meal does it make sense to you? Does your partner make sense? Does that program make sense? Does that book? Does that job? Does that whatever? Does it make sense to you? And then finally, sometimes we might not be so connected to self. We kind of get confused with that conversation. Is it working? Are you happy? Do you feel good? Are you functioning well? Are you sleeping well? Are you successful in whatever that means to you? And with those two questions, none of this made sense. None of it was working. It didn't even, and here's my take. And Vladi too, and a lot of others. How has your life been since this pandemic, in quotes? And we all answer, amazing. Literally, my life has leveled up. My practice is busier. The streets are a little more calm, so I can kind of be on a quiet street. This is fantastic. All my hobbies are free. I don't go out. So everything improved according to my selfish life, like my life. I could have sat back and ridden this wave, not done any social media, not done anything, and been like, dude, this is amazing. What a great opportunity. But then you start to understand how people are suffering worldwide from the decisions we've allowed to happen. And that's where I feel I've meditated on it. I've talked to some 5D people on it. I've talked to some, mostly women, because they're dialed in, man. They got etherical Akashic record type like Cliff's Notes. I'm like, hey, let me tap into that divine feminine. My God, you guys know some shit. And so it was one of those things that I feel all the work I've done and all the experiences I've had have put me in a position so that I could be grounded during this moment of mayhem. And we're all experiencing it. It's just absolute mayhem, that I'm going to be fairly concrete, island in a torrid sea, things kind of going, okay. And that's why I almost get louder now, because the static is so high. I need people to understand and trust in themselves again and try to bring truth or whatever. And so that's what I've taken upon myself, which you've seen me on, and how we've connected. You saw me get vocal, and I'm connecting with people I normally wouldn't have. I've got DMs and phone numbers of people I've been reading about. I'm like, holy shit, I'm now talking to you. This is crazy. And we're all in this community. I feel so good right now. But again, we are doing this so that we can become the warriors to try to waken and help and, facilitate or suggest the changes that we're all going to need to make to kind of thwart this. So that's where my take is now. And here's the thing. Is it real? Is it not? It doesn't. We can go back and forth. Dr. Kelly Brogan said, you're never going to win an information war, right? You're just never going to go back and forth with information. Nobody's going to do it. Nobody's going to win that.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? Dr. Christian Northrup, she's just like, if you feel the other side, like it's appropriate, like a mandatory vaccine and all this, if that's really what ignites you, then go ahead. But just don't impose on us. You know what I mean? Just go do your thing and believe it and be a good person. And we're going to be over here and we're going to do our thing. But it's this, someone's wrong and this is right. And we're divided and we're just toxic. And I'm getting hate mail and messages. And it's like, my God, that's what I'm trying to, the bigger picture for my life. Cause you're the same. I'm always trying to find what's my service, right? Like what is, because we could make just an ass load of money in all these kooky ways. I mean, there's so many opportunities to make money. It's like, geez, but what are you doing with it? Or what's your higher work? What's your service? What are you going to leave behind when this is all over? And that's that's where I feel I'm sitting now. Like my service is to stay loud, stay strong, stay informed, stay connected, stay lit, stay high, so that no matter what they try to do or whatever happens, I'm still a facilitator. I don't save anybody. We're not saving anybody. We're not life preservers, but we're just the light, and it's
Right.
that attract, like attracts like. As much darkness as is going on, there has to be it has to oppose and balance out. Has to. So,
Absolutely.
all right. And I always said, when you backed away from the earth far enough and you look at like a hurricane or a tsunami or lava or, some of these shifts, it's just an immune response from the earth. Like it literally looks like what the cells would be in the body. And I was like, wow, if you back away from things, you can start to see the number, like the patterns, patterns that are, and I don't know, Fibonacci pattern, whatever the thing is, right? It all crosses. And I was like, I just hope, because to us, to the earth, we're like bacteria. Like we are so small and we're like visitors on earth, and we're supposed to kind of help it and work with it and be with it and live with the microbiome, not try to beat it and own it and control it. I just hope she thinks I'm a probiotic. like when she has her little immune response, because it's going to happen. Something bigger than all of us is going to, if we get close enough to some sort of destruction, I really truly think something big is going to step in. I'd just like to be around when it's over. But although whatever the next level is, I'm good with it. I'm at peace, but I'd like to be around because I dig life. I really do love my daily routine and what I get to experience. So that's my kind of extended version of my take on it.
Yeah, no, I've resonated a lot with what you're saying. Like in the sense that like when this whole thing started, my life got a lot easier too. Like I felt like I was almost living in like sort of this like luxurious, like, wow, I'm doing fine. Like this is great. Like, but once you sort of wake up to that collective suffering that is being, I would almost say being like waged upon a lot of people. It's not even, I think it's a byproduct of the life we've been living for the last, centuries upon centuries. I mean, you could say this materialistic like outlook has been like conditioned into us from the dawn of civilizations for the last couple thousands of years. And I think we're almost sort of reaching this this crux, if you will, of like, all right, we have all of these technologies. We can press a button and just blow up the earth. Like we have we've gained such material power that I think the earth is almost sort of, you're right, is ready to almost push back in a way, if you will. But when we look at like the individual suffering, and we talk about that information war, right? And I've tried to be very mindful about sort of what it is I'm posting, what it is I'm trying to like tell people, because there's a lot of people stuck in their information. Right. But I mean, and you talk a lot about healing, and I'm very much engaged in my own healing process and awakening to a lot about the deeper parts of myself. But I find it incredibly rewarding. But like, how would you say more people can begin to engage in healing, and what does that actually mean when you say we need to start healing? Like, what does it mean to heal? What does it mean to be beyond the individual self when we're all taught material and consumption and all that good stuff? No, that's such a loaded, awesome question. I'm so glad. So I'm like, there's three ways I could. So here's the thing, right? Take my office. Let's just take a single individual who comes in with whatever they've got. It doesn't even matter. One, they've usually been given a label by the current model, but by society in some way. They're depressed. They have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. They have some disease of growth. They have some joint inflammation. And it's always a name, and they always want to tell you that label. So, okay, the first step to healing is you aren't your diagnosis. You're not a label, because everything they just named, they wanted to name it so they could code for it, so they can treat it and reproduce it basically put you into a system.
But what they're not treating, and I stole this from Dr. Cowan and Dr. Brogan again, because it's just fresh off their podcast, they're not treating the story, which is the person. You know what I mean? And each person has their story. So no amount of healing will occur until those individuals go, I am not MS. I am not diabetic. That's just what my body is trying to do to get my attention as a healing response. These people, whoever they are, called the healing response a diagnosis, a pathology. Wait, that's why I say you're not sick. You're not sick. A fever is not being sick. A fever is a very intelligent response from the body to like burn bacteria or burn viruses and get the body ready to survive and create an immune response. If we didn't have fevers, we wouldn't be here. Like if we didn't vomit, we wouldn't be here. If we didn't have scabs and bleeding, we wouldn't be here. And so that's the first step is you aren't whatever they've said you are, which is a victim. You need us because they made us very dependent on the system over the last however many years, right? Like they've stripped us of everything. We're in debt. We don't have any power. We think we're sick. We think we're labeled. We have no nourishment. We have, our jobs, everything has been, you need us. And if this breaks, you need us to save you. More so now, which is what we're hearing. Okay. So now it's like, you're not your diagnosis. If you're dealing with some sort of specific deal, well, the human race is dealing with a label right now. What's the label? A pandemic. Yeah. It literally is. It's like you are all suffering from a pandemic. Wait a second. Just look around you. I personally don't know anybody who's been affected by any of this. I don't know anyone. And if it was a pandemic, I should be able to walk down the street or go into a building and know somebody. And I don't know anybody. I've talked to nurses then who are in hotbeds. They're like, no, it's not what they're saying. Okay. So even if it was this crazy thing, we're not the pandemic. We are a collective trying to survive this state of being that the world is in, or nature, if you think it's a natural exposure to something or it's a man-made, it doesn't matter. Right. We've been given this label of we're a pandemic. And everybody likes to say, if we're not a pandemic, then talk about the bubonic plague and it's like, did we not survive that? You guys all talk about, and I'm not saying it wasn't devastating, but it's like, you vomited, you're not healthy. Wait. I vomited up something that was very dangerous. After this vomit session, I'm going to be pretty good. Right. You know what I mean? Like, and again, I don't want somebody to die. Like, believe me, I don't, but it's something we all will go through. I'm not afraid to talk about it. Like, it is part of life, and to avoid dying doesn't mean you're living. And so that's just something to put in perspective. Like, okay, what's the best way we could go about surviving and healing? One, not accepting what's going on, not accepting this label. Okay. Even if you want to stay isolated in your home and wear masks and do whatever, that's fine because you're following a rule or whatever, but I don't know how you can accept not a label and then follow that. But even if you did, like, let's just say you were doing that, there's still things you can do now to go on. And this is where, I don't know if you saw my 8 essentials.
Not sure I did.
They're not mine. And I love radical remission stories. I love like the Heal documentary by Kelly Gores. I love Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, on You Are the Placebo, like becoming supernatural, like Bruce Lipton stuff. Like, dude, so all those stories and my interrogation of every 90-plus-year-old I come across. Those are the most rad people, because if you talk to them, they've got experience, they have knowledge, they have advice. They're pretty grounded if they've made it this long, especially in today's culture. Right. And you ask them questions, and I always say, like, what's the secret to life? And I joke because they look at you funny, like there's one thing. There's never one thing. Well, after the radical remission stories, Joe's work, Bruce's stuff, reading that stuff, talking to 90-plus-year-olds who are content and like really connected as they age and they live, it comes down to these. They always mention these 8. And I love taking an inventory personally of these 8 and then people. So if we're talking, okay, what does it mean to heal as a collective? Well, one, we have to heal as the individual, and then the collective will respond. But nobody's going to save the collective.
Right.
That's what I need. Even religious people, we have to do the personal individual work. And that varies person to person. And I'll get into that. So listen to these 8. These are pretty cool. And you can list them in a linear line. Technically, they're like in a circle, wrapped on a circle, wrapped on a circle. They're like as quantum,
Right.
like whatever dimensions you feel, but they all intersect everything. Okay.
Right.
So stay with me. So the first thing is a belief in something greater than yourself. And those healing people literally would say, I had to believe that there was a power inside of me that had intelligence. It was out for my best interest. It was going to heal me. It was going to, and it was talking to me, and it's my friend. I'm in love with it. I'm thanking this power inside me. And they always acknowledge that. And it wasn't necessarily religious. It was just, they just knew there was this, and they surrendered to that power, Number 2, a purpose. It could be as small as, I talked to a woman who's kicking psychiatric meds. She's like, you know what, TJ? Sometimes my purpose, get out of bed, make coffee, walk on the grass outside, get the hell back in bed. And I'm like, dude, rock star day. For that person, for some of us, that's a day.
Yeah.
For others, setting up a meeting, opening a new business, moving your family, becoming engaged, having a baby, like whatever your purpose is, but small, medium, large, whatever, just come up with some reason why you get out of bed. What's the point? That's what you got to come up with. Usually around your belief in something greater. Like it's always kind of around that bigger thing. Number 3, relationships. Those people that support your belief in your purpose and the ones that challenge the hell out of it. And in a nice, constructive way, not toxic, but a nice way where they put a mirror in front of your face and they're not going to take your crap. They're the ones that challenge you. Everything else, cut it out. Everybody else, cut it out. Number 4, sleep naps. Number 5, breath meditation prayer. Number 6, natural light. I'd say sunlight, but sometimes it's cloudy. The sun is still up. Just a client of mine goes, TJ, it appears to me our culture is just on the wrong side of the window. And I was like, damn, that's outstanding. I'm like, dude, that's such a great bumper sticker. I was like, did you make that up? He's like, literally right now. I was like, all right. So literally it's just getting outside, even if it's frigid, cold, dark, windy, rainy, sun, doesn't matter. Get your ass outside. Let the body be exposed to natural light. 7, nourishment, real food, homemade if you can, connect with local farms. We got to connect to local farms again. And then number 8, finally, is body movement, moving your joints, every joint, the number of times a day you are years old. If a joint is injured, 200 to 300 times, and then walk everywhere. That's it. There's your training program. There it is. So those 8, you take an inventory, and some days spiritual belief might be your big work day. That might be what you're focused on that day. Another day, it might be a nutrition day, because you can't hit everything all the time. It's just not possible, Right. And so I address those 8 in me. In injured people or people who are expressing symptoms, you can always find red flags within those 8, but you got to be honest, you got to be vulnerable, and you have to be open and authentic. You have to be honest. And what you'll find is you simplify those 8. When you address those 8, you put the whole system into an environment, a terrain that it loves, that it will finish healing. It'll reward you with peace and great function and feelings, and you'll attract things. I mean, literally dreams will come true. It's those 8 that if we all addressed those today, and right now, the current narrative is poised to attack each one of those. And I have a podcast where I say, they don't want you to believe that anything's higher than you, that the doctor is God or the scientists are God. That is how it's set up. Right. Your purpose, you lost it because we took your job away. We've attacked your livelihood. We didn't force you. You gave it up. We just said it. You gave it up. Yeah. Relationships. I know divorces that are occurring from this. I know husbands and wives, they're at static. Best friends. I have this little app. It's so bad, but I hate looking at it, but it shows me who unfollows me. Dude. I saw some people. I'm like, are you serious? But you know what? Love you. Good luck. I'm sorry. My news offended you. Sleep. Everyone's worried. Everybody's terrified. We're not sleeping. We're not able to concentrate on breath, meditation, and prayer. We're definitely not eating well when Walmart's only open and seeds aren't able to be bought because you can't grow your own foods and they're destroying crops. And you know what I mean? So it's like,
Right.
can't get outside, and people are limited on what they can do. So they're making it very tough. The experience now that we're going through is checking us. But what I love is every time we go through that, every time I express symptoms, every time an injury occurs, if we do it right and we go with these 8, you level up. You leveled up. I leveled up. My buddies leveled up. Our network leveled up. How's that possible? Everyone's suffering. It's possible because here's the thing. And I want to share this because everyone's like, well, can you tell me how I'm supposed to heal? Or can you tell me how I'm supposed to level up? It's different for everybody. Let me just share a couple stories because this is cool.
Yeah.
Because I have people say, like, when are you guys going to organize the rally that's going to save everybody? Or when are we going to do what Germany's done? Because when you guys rally, then it's going to be over. Or when is the election going to be done? Because then it's going to be over. And it's like, no, it's not.
Right.
This is not something that works that way. Here's how it stops. It stops when we collectively stop it, when we choose to. And it's like, well, how do we do that? Okay. For instance, one teacher DM'd me. Hey, I didn't like how they were masking kids. I was damn well not going to have them mask my kid. I didn't like how we were disinfecting as much as we were. I quit my job. I told him I can't do this. I'm like, what are you and your husband doing? She's like, my husband supports me. We'll figure it out. She quit her job. That was her stance. That was her purpose. That was her assessment based on her beliefs and her relationship with her husband and her child. And you know what I mean? She did all these things for her. That was right for her. That was her healing. She will survive this. I know she will. This soccer coach, this was from Nurse Rita Rogers, who I'd suggest everybody follow. She's an amazing person. Rita Rogers Co. on Instagram, but she was an ICU nurse on the front lines, spitting a lot of truth, and it's not what the news is saying. So she's my inside source there. But she said she knows this soccer coach. They wanted their daughters to mask during the soccer game. And he's like, I'll be damned if my daughter's ever going to wear a mask, or definitely not during a soccer game. So what did he do? And this is in Michigan. Michigan's pretty strict, right? Michigan's coming down. So he goes, he didn't ask permission. He didn't ask the governor for permission. He started a league. He paid money, brought up all these other parents who were all on board. They started their own league. He wrote a letter to the governor, not to ask, to tell her, I think it's a her, to tell her, this is what we are doing. Just wanted to let you know we are not okay with this. It was a fantastic stance that gentleman did. He healed within this. And that's just one facet of it, right? But that's what this gentleman did. For others, it may be relocating. For some, it might just be making homemade meals more often and connecting as a family. I've known a lot of people who have moved out of California, moved to Arizona, moved to Washington, they're taking action as their individual state. Now, if 9 billion or however many billion of us chose those lines, this is over. This all stops. But that's the hard part. It's trying to get, what does that mean to everybody? Because we've become a very victim mentality society. And so healing doesn't happen in the victim. The victim is saved. And so that's why I'm kind of posting, you're not sick. You're not a label. This isn't a pandemic. Even if it was a pandemic, it's still not a pandemic because you don't want to accept that. You know what I mean? That's why you're not injured. You're not a great, no. There's damaged tissue because of the environment you were in. All it's telling you is you were not prepared to survive that environment. Your body is telling you right now, you have 2 choices: change your environment or prepare to exist in the one you currently are in. Both are right. What are you going to do? Right. Body's telling you, but you're not a grade 2 ankle chronic, blah, 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 blah. Nope. Doesn't work that way. So that's where I get so much hate from there is not a pandemic. It's like, that's just how just like germs don't cause disease. What? Like, no, that means, like we'd all be dead. Like we all have germs in our skin and in our nose and our small intestine, like lethal stuff. If the terrain wasn't ideal. So that's where I go with that healing and with those 8 and with the non-accepting of the label right now.
Absolutely. And I resonate a lot with what you're saying, because I see a lot of people seeking that hero
Yeah.
outside of themselves to save from the it's like you have the princess stuck in the castle, right?
Yep.
And they all, instead of being the warrior who's slaying the dragon and fighting
Totally.
the demons, we want to be the princess waiting to be saved. But
Right.
how many of those fairy tales do the princess just never get saved and just rots away?
Right.
And so it's there's so much. I think we've been taught to externalize everything.
Mhm.
Starting when we're young and in school, we're taught to.
Right.
We're not taught what it means to be a human. We're not taught about what is our purpose. We're not taught about relationships or
No.
nourishing food or performance and moving our body.
Yeah.
We're taught how to essentially be obedient. Essentially, I'm this coming from a teacher perspective. It's an indoctrination into this external reality. And that's something that I've woken up to and realized even where my own belief systems are, where my
Right.
own, what my conditions are and what my healing process looks like. So, and that idea that everybody has to do their own part, I think is a hard pill to swallow
Yes.
for a lot of
Yes.
people.
Yep.
So and that's why we mentioned before the show, this is sort of we feel like this is only just the beginning of
know, man.
what is to come. I mean, do you have any thoughts of what like maybe an end game is, or what sort of, when we say
Dude.
this is only the beginning, what is that? A lot of people might be like, oh, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like what is it? How would you put that into words, I suppose?
So here's what I don't do a lot. I focus on so much on what it takes to survive whatever the environment is. I don't necessarily check out what are all the possible ways I could get damaged by the environment. Does that make sense? Like, I don't
Yeah.
like researching what could happen. I just like researching the stuff that's real for us to be put, because then it's just like this. If I go outside, what's all that could happen? Well,
Right.
I mean, we would be endless. We never go outside. So here's 3 things that I don't know details on. I just have seen little snippets. And so I'm not an accurate source, but I really hope people go check it out and just see from the ones who have done the real deep, their psyches are better able to like almost enjoy those scenarios.
Yeah.
And like hearing those details, I'm like, I'm really kind of I love rom-com movies. I don't like Dexter. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I can't rewatch Seven because I love Gwyneth Paltrow. Like, her face and her head gets kind of like, oh my God. Like, I'm just that guy, So, Event 201 was the dry run of a pandemic that the Gates Foundation, I guess, did in October of last year.
Yeah.
So Event 201 like laid out, and then they also technically, I guess, patented the CV-19 virus. And so there were some things there. Again, regardless of what they did, I'm still going to freaking take care of myself and put myself in the best position possible, because you're not taking me out easy. Like I don't care what you're okay. Agenda 21 is another one. And you can look these up. These are like public places.
Yeah.
And then Agenda 2030. Now, as I understand, the goal of this, and this is the scary part, the pandemic, according to those game plans, is supposed to last to 2025, 2027. So they're going to try to drag this out, masked for what? And bring in a shot, bring in the V, the savior. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say it because I don't like people hearing it, like the bots and all that crap, right? So Sasha Stone talked to a friend of mine. He said no. And he's been doing research on this stuff for like 30 years. He's like 2027 is what their plan is. By 2030 to have, as I understand, like a one world government, a cashless society. Everyone's tracked, contact tracing, 5G will be up so we can all be monitored and surveyed. Or surveilled or whatever. Mandatory, we can't travel unless we're our immunization vaccinated, like whatever. And it's like, oh, damn. That's the plan to where this is kind of headed. And so it's very trippy because I don't I don't like that. Like when you hear it, I don't feel good about that reality. So I don't even want to think about that reality. You know, like I just don't want to go there. But what's their end game? That's, as I understand it, what they want. And it's a world agreement. So there's a lot of leaders worldwide that are in agreement of this, and they'll put it that it's to save the environment, or it's to save more control means more happiness, less freedoms, or more. And they spin it, it's the salesman type thing that just doesn't feel right to me. No more medical freedom, stuff like that. That's the scary end game that is possible. I don't want somebody to lose their lunch right now or to get depressed, because I get a depressed feeling, and I should get a depressed feeling. I'm listening to that reality. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And anxiety and depression is a conversation your body's having with you. Hey, we don't like this. So what we do is the collective work to prepare to say as a whole, because there's more of us than there are of them, we don't have to let this happen. Do you know what I mean? Like our force, our power, somebody did the math. I think it was Dr. Joe Yee's, like there's 5,000 of us to one of them, whatever them means, whatever the power is, So it's like, shit, we really are a bunch of ants. And I get so jazzed when I watch ants, dude. There's this cat. I don't know if you've seen on my Instagram, this cat I cuddle up with. It's Omi. Yeah. I like pet the, yeah. So Omi's a badass, man. Neighborhood cat. He just floats from house to house. And we had a session the other day, and he likes his belly rub, and he hooks his leg, and it's just this whole thing. He doesn't let anybody do that. That's why I'm like, there's something he likes in me, or he's connecting. And so I'm getting something, and his purr is a frequency. And I feel like it's a part of my health routine. I feel like it's one of those relationships,
Absolutely.
So definitely with animals and children, they know their stuff. So he left another mouse on my doorstep. It was a huge, massive thank you, right? Like hey man, I really appreciate what you did for me. It's like, sweet. Well, then the ants come to the mouse, and I don't move it. It sounds gross. I'm not on the ground eating dinner by it, but I'm just like, wow, the ants are serving their purpose. That environment of dead tissue attracted this cleanup crew that is the ants, and they're coming from somewhere, and they're going to take back those things as nutrients. The ants are supposed to be here. It's like bacteria and virus in the body. If there's damaged, debris, garbage tissue, the cleanup crew is expelled out of the cells called viruses and bacteria to clean up that area, and you don't feel good. No, because you're not supposed to. It's supposed to get your attention. And then when you honor it, respect it, rest it, nourish it, believe it and let it go and give it enough time, pretty soon, and I see it, those ants totally clean up that mouse. And I mean, there's nothing left but fur. So they don't even want the fur. They take everything. I mean, it takes about a week to a week and a half for them to totally take over like a 2-inch, 3-inch mouse. So there's so many parallels to that's where I think us as a society, we can learn a lot from the ant kind of foundation of this. And so no matter what you think the end game is, we collectively we individually do the work so that I pimp her out because she's just amazing. Dr. Kelly Brogan. And I'm just fresh off reading her stuff, but she goes in her book, Own Yourself, you owe it. Well, I don't know if she said owe. I like to say owe. It's you owe it to society. Your responsibility as a society is to heal yourself, because then your energy will be put out there and will affect the greater. And I thought I'm like, God, that's so amazing, because everyone's saying I'm socially irresponsible by not wearing a mask, or I'm this big selfish person. I'm like, wait, I'm working so hard to be the healthiest version of myself to help you. And to put out that even if you don't know you're putting it out, you are vibrating at a certain frequency that is different. Things vibrate at different times. When we're depressed, we vibrate differently. When we're angry, we vibrate differently. When we're in love, it's just like the Mac Daddy vibration of all. When we're healing or healed in a state of healing, we are affecting the greater. So end game, that's where I think whatever, work on the self, work on the individual, and connect with each other. Because the big thing is, it's nice to know I'm not alone, although I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But to those out there who are like, man, sometimes they just send messages and I just thumb them up. I'll just heart them and they're like, you know, you don't even have to answer. I just want to let you know, I'm so glad to know that you're out there saying the things I'm feeling, and I don't feel alone. And I think now more than ever, people are feeling like they're freaks. They're being taught that there's something wrong with them if they're not being exactly part of the narrative or following the rules, so to speak. And that's another thing that we can do as a healing unit. Like, our relationships right now are maybe one of the most important, to connect as much as you can right now, because they're trying to split us up even more than we were already divided.
Right.
And there's something huge with community for sure.
Absolutely. And there's definitely the fracturing of community that we see taking place on, if you turn on the news, it's all about, how are people divided today? What is going on in the world? And it's playing out how whoever they is wants
Yes.
it to play out in a lot of ways in the collective. But I
Right.
really love your answer on the end game, because I feel the same way about,
Right.
I've looked into this research. I've read George Orwell in 1984.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And I'm like, oh, this stuff is coming. I don't like that.
I know.
It makes me feel sad. And like, in a way, it almost like, I feel like if you get too drawn into that conclusion, you can really get this sense of hopelessness and get this sense of, I can't do anything. This is too large of a problem.
Right.
So I think having that like narrow focus on the end game, because there's been times, I think, where when I first learn about these things, where I'm like stuck in it for like weeks or like a week or two at a time.
Sure.
I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the end. But then when it's like, okay, let me focus on the healing. Let me focus on me and allow that process to take place, however it's going to take place, and then go from there. And you mentioned earlier in the podcast at the very beginning, and I saw your Instagram video on this, and I really resonated with it. Women leading the charge, and you had sort of almost a call to action for men in particular. And I'd love if you could like elaborate on that and how you see women leading the charge right now, what sort of men can do, and like what, your thoughts on that.
Yeah. It happened when this all was going down, and I was observing who was sniffing out this and who was making the call of something's not right. And it was that divine feminine, they're all capable of being mothers. Like they have that wire, that power inside them. And it's that intuition, and their intuitive response was something's not right. And what I had said was because they have that in their code, if their babies are threatened, which technically we all are, all the women's babies, like the children of the earth are every single one of us, they're being threatened right now. So instinctively, women are like, oh no, this is not, and you don't mess with mama bear. Like you just don't F with the cub. And that's what's going on. So I was noticing, I'm like, geez, woman, what? And they're all just like powerfully, and they're speaking about intuition and connection. I'm like, okay, I had no problem, because I almost like, I'm sort of on the more sensitive side of things. And it's like, I guess we have both inside, right? It's like, there's this feminine quality inside of us all. And then like, there's this masculine. Well, I'm very in touch with that feminine side. Feelings and intuition and sensitivity, and to the point that almost I don't resonate with dudes. Like I don't, like if I'm at a party, it's rare I've been at a party, but like I'll literally listen to the conversations and I'll gravitate towards the female group. Why? They're talking about their feelings. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about sports. I don't want to talk about your bank account or cars. I don't want to talk about investments. I don't want to talk about like aggressive, like I don't care. This is so stupid. I want to talk, and then the women are talking about their feelings, like an exchange, what they have. Like it's just such a deeper leveled connection. And so I was always drawn with it, and everyone thought it was like a way to scam girl. I'm like, no, I was just really drawn in to them. So I started to notice too, just as society was like, they've tried to like emasculate man and masculinize woman. And it's like to have just this continuity where it's just one thing. And I was just like, even in my practice, some of them are just like, guys, where the hell, show up. Like, let's go. Where is this man? And like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
And this was before that. Like, it was even in healing and some of the stuff. I'm like, God, come on. Like, I just started to notice in youth and in fathers. But then I started to notice on streets, woman unmasked, walking confidently, breathing the fresh air, walking in the sun, dad hiding behind his mask, hiding behind his phone, masking kid. I've gotten more messages from women. Hey, love your message. And I never put myself as this, thank you so much for being a connected, divine masculine or whatever, like I just never really was like, but thank you for being that man. And it kept coming back. Thank you for being that man in our lives. Thank you. And I'm like, because I don't think I'm like this. But I was just like, yeah, you know what? And I reached out to a couple of them because I was on the fence and I don't like doing this, but I said, do you think a video kind of calling them out would be? And they're like, my God, please. Yes. And these are people I respect that are high up in the health world. And I was like, okay, you know what, if you're saying it, because I don't want to offend somebody unless it's something definite, like it's a convicted, nah, I'm sorry, this is going to hurt some people, but it's okay. It's going to sting a little bit. It's okay. So I dropped that bomb, calling out guys, a friend of mine, Natani Boudreau, she goes, you know what, TJ, that video is freaking great. A great idea. She goes, women point in the direction because they know the direction. Men lead and the women follow, but the woman points, hey, there, that's where we need. And man goes, boom, I got this. And we're needing to protect the babies of the world. We're needing courage. We're needing to, rise up to exhibit some form of strength and pushback, because together we don't, like, where women can't do certain, men can. And where men can't, women can. Like, holy crap, this is this great connected unity that we both have. And if we pull that together, we're a pretty powerful force, and I can say I'm not married, but I observe a lot of marriages, and you just don't see that a lot. You don't see that connectivity where they're both bringing in both, where they kind of do it together, as a Joan of Arc and a knight, I don't like what it is, but like there's roles, there's things that we have success with. And a lot of the females are like, guys, where the hell are you? Like, where's the strength we need? And where's that courage? And where's that damn rise up? Like, we need this. And so I that's why I went so bold with that, and dropped that out there. And I will say, I kind of set it up that no man is going to negatively comment on the post, because you know what I mean? He's basically like incriminating himself. So It's not fair if somebody wanted to have like a conversation like, hey man, I thought you were kind of hard. I'm open to those, but a lot of DMs, TJ, even Dr. Ben Lynch, man, like a guy I follow, he's like mounted up on horse with shield and Excalibur ready to go. Like, that was rad, man. He's got like a ton of followers, natural health guy. He's commenting on, damn, that's awesome. Like, again, I felt like it was more unifying than it was outing anybody. But as you said, a call to action, right? Like, find it. That could be part of healing for men. Hey, your purpose right now, protection, strength, that rock when the women are, they're doing their thing and they look back. Are we doing it right? Are we going in the right direction? Yes. Let's go. I got you. I'm going to protect you. Where do we go next? Hey, divine feminine, where do we go next? You show me. All right, let's freaking do this. Action, That was my kind of take on that.
100%. And I love the video. I resonated with it because I saw what you were saying was, when I was watching it, it almost felt like what you were saying. You were talking to my past self. Like, I saw what is this collective energy that exists in the, for men is exactly what I was living in for a long time. And it wasn't until I was able to find this balance within myself and engage in a healing process that I was able to break past that. So that video for me, I was like almost sort of reassuring in a lot of ways. So it's like, oh, okay. I am where I need to be. Right. This is right. Like, this strength, awesome. this protection is what we need collectively for men, at least. Like, that's what we need. And I don't see a lot of it, unfortunately. Like, I work in a school and I don't see it being taught to men. That merging that you mentioned of almost the sexes is very much indoctrinated at youth. We're trying, instead of harmoniously balancing each other out and living with the differences and the strengths of each to come together, there is this I don't know, it's a lack of, I don't even know if I have the words for it. It's you can feel what I'm saying. It's
totally.
It's concerning because I feel like we are on almost sort of a time crunch, if you will. We are this healing does need to take place now, but I feel like the message you're bringing out is the message that more people are starting to wake up to. Like, your work is waking others up, and in turn wake others up, and in turn, this domino effect, I feel with the domino effect, it's inevitable that we reach a point where the collective turns the tide. And, if everybody woke up tomorrow and just decided, I'm done with the pandemic.
Sure.
That's it.
It would be over. It would be over. Hands down. It's interesting you said that, because Rita Rogers, again, I name drop my favorites because they just say a lot of things that resonate. But we chat every so often, and we run some stuff because, again, we like to drop some, hey, this is what I'm feeling now. What do you think? And then she'll share, I was actually feeling the same. Like, it's just something we can share with each other, right? And so it's just really relieving to have conversations like that, like those deep conversations about our feelings, about what's going on, and to bounce some stuff off. I'm feeling this. What do you think about that? Like, am I accurate in my and then she'll share. So I've only been in the business come 20 years. I've been asking people to do basically the same thing I'm asking them to do now. I've been asking them to do it for 20 years in varying deliveries as I've evolved too. Yeah. And so I was telling, because Rita is an ICU nurse, and she's just like, dude, this whole model, our allopathic medical model, we're not healthy. This whole expecting people to like go down to the sick level when we're healthy up here, this doesn't make any sense. We confirmed with each other that basically the leash, like the give, the free passes that everyone's taken up till now, they're all gone. That all those times we've been saying, or people have been telling you, or even your own intuition has told you, you gotta start making some changes, and you've kind of ignored it, and that's fine. The days of those freebie days, your trial's over. You are going to, and this is what's so difficult, because it's not fair to have to change all this stuff at one time. It's not fair. I know, but we're dealing with something that's really not fair. And that's why we all got to connect even stronger, and why you got to do the work even more, and you got to revisit every day, because right now you don't have the luxury of bits and piecing together. You're going to kind of have to, hey, there's the accelerated program. We just started it. It's innately driven. We're going to go. It's this. Hey, I know. Normally it takes like months and years to figure. No. You have to do it right now. So it's one of those things that the message, the solution, the menu is still the same. That's why those 8 essentials or whatever, it's still the same. But the majority who have been disconnected, sick, symptomatic, in debt, lost, whatever, have to figure out how to put it all together. But again, while you, me, the groups are there to, where they're like, what the hell do I do? I know you've been kind of lost. And now it's like there's fires all around you, and you're trying to save yourself, and you don't even have clothes on. You're like naked in a fiery floor. You're like, what do I do? I don't have an axe. I know. Here's some clothes. Here's what we're going to do. You know what I mean? And then you're trying to have them do this really accelerated, life altering lifestyle, shift in this short period of time. And it's like, damn. And really, it's not going to end there. It's this ongoing, because what's crazy is if I've leveled up, you've leveled up. I was operating pretty high level before March.
Yeah.
I've leveled up even higher than what that was. Holy crap. This was here. And it again was an eye-opening thing. I was like, this was here all along. I could have done this in February for my, damn, but I needed this severe reality to shake my tree and get me to be like, okay, you just fired up, you prime my engine, man. All right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get going. And when you do that, I hyper evolve, you know?
Right.
And so that's where I think it's the unfair nature of it. But again, you can't complain. This is what we've been dealt with, and this is what we are designed to do, which is adapt and evolve. The human being is a master evolver and adapter. It is, dude, it would not have happened if we weren't ready for it. It just wouldn't happen. The civilization, everything would just, no, we're ready for this. We have the capacity inside. We just got to find that.
I love that. I love that because that makes me feel good because I agree. You know, if we weren't ready, it would have all come down by now.
Something would have been done.
It.
Nah.
And you know, that's all the universe is. That's all consciousness is. It's the constant evolvement. It's the constant growth. It's the constant change. And you know, I think we're ready. I think we can do it.
Totally.
And I think we will do it. And it's one of those things we don't know exactly how it's going to look, what it's going to look like at the end of it. But there's this feeling inside.
Yep.
There's this feeling that I have inside. It's like, this is what it's going to be like when we do it.
Yeah.
And if we keep working towards that feeling, gold. You know, we've made it.
I got goosebumps. You just said that. I get goosebumps. Like I'm like fired up. Like this excites me. You know what I mean? Like this is an exciting time for the world. And everyone's like, well, say that to it's an exciting time for everyone. We will all be better after this. We will level up and we will win this. It's how it will work. It's just how it works.
Yeah, it's inevitable. It feels inevitable that we will come through with it. It's funny you said this is an exciting time because I told that to my mom like a couple days ago, and she's like, "An exciting time? You think this is exciting?" And I was like,
"I know.
This is so exciting. What are you talking about?"
You gotta like know your audience on that one. You get tomatoes.
Yeah, seriously. So, so Tommy, we're at about an hour. I mean, this hour flew by for me.
Man.
So. I mean, is there anywhere you would like to send the listeners to interact with your work, find you, connect with you?
Yeah, you know, my website has all my social media, drtommyjohn.com. Very active on Instagram, as you're seeing. Facebook's turning toxic, but I'm still there. I'm going to be steady because bullies don't like consistency. And I will be consistent. Well, I moved over to Telegram as well in case they decide to censor on Instagram, which they're doing. Telegram, I'm DRT John. So if you go Dr. T John on Telegram, that's another kind of a private space that is uncensored as of right now. And then, reach out to me if you guys got questions or concerns. I do respond to DMs, believe it or not. I know some people are like blown away that I do. But that's it, right? Those are the phone calls. Those are the connections. So I don't, and honestly, everyone's like, where do you find all this? Do you comb the internet? No, people in DMs. We have an army. Like this is how we do it. Everyone's a researcher. Everyone's the news. Yeah. That's how I get my news. I just read DMs and connect with people and talk with you and talk with my neighbors and talk with my clients. How are we doing this? Because there's just different information and perception and different details, and everyone's bringing in something different. And then you pull in all that information, you decipher, keep what makes sense, discard the rest, and just figure out what's best for you. But keep connecting, keep doing it. Reach out to me if you ever need anything. Keep doing the personal work. The collective as a whole will win this if the individual gets it done. And I'm gonna call to arms right now. So there will be a line that will be drawn in front of each person based on your values, beliefs, and needs. Nobody can answer that for you. It varies case by case. I know my values, beliefs, and needs. I know what I'm willing to sacrifice for this. You have to answer that question. And then whatever that is, take an inventory of those 8 and fight like hell for what you guys have come up with. And the rest will just fall in place. That's it.
Hell yeah. Absolutely, brother. I love that. That's a beautiful thing to leave the listeners with. And I hope that you all engage in this deep healing process and allow it to take place as it must. And we're here for you. So that's why we have these conversations. So thank you so much, man, for coming on the show.
Dude,
Like,
hell yeah.
I love this. Maybe we'll have to have another episode when we're on the other side or when we're in a little bit even more in despair. I don't know.
Done.
Just
I'm game.
another. We'll plan
I
on
love
another
it.
conversation, whenever that is,
Absolutely.
whenever it feels right. So
Anytime, I'm always down for sure. I appreciate it.
awesome, man. I love it. So I'll have the show out by next week.
Oh, hell yeah. Nice.
I'll shoot you the link and
Yeah, great.
we'll go from there, dude.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for what you're doing too. Love it.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you for what you're doing.
Got
You're
it, brother.
you have a big following, and just keep at it. There's going to be the
Done.
haters, but
Done.
it's working. We're gonna
Done.
make it
I love
happen.
it. I love it. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks, brother.
All right. I'll talk
All
to you
right,
soon, man.
Got it. See you, bud.
See ya.